We'll maybe just start with the signing and being here in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
What was that process like? I know you had been drafted the year previously, went back to U of L. Was Danny getting over to U of L games? Did you see him and think maybe this could happen?
Yeah, so, I got wind that, Louisville City had been at, a few games here and there throughout the season, over the course of the seasons I've been playing at U of L. So I always knew that, they were watching. Obviously, Louisville City being right in our backyard to U of L was always a plus, and I knew, the great setup that they have here at Louisville City. So, that was always kind of in the back of my mind. If I ever were to, play USL Championship at first, I always thought that, Louisville City would be a great start. So I'm happy with the way everything worked out.
What do you think one of the biggest transitions or challenges for you from the college game to pros now? What do you think?
I would probably just say, obviously the pace, the speed of play. It's a little different now going against grown men instead of, college players. But just the physicality, things like that. But I think I'm ready, and I'm able to adjust well. It's a little different being one of the youngest guys on the team now, but it's awesome. All the guys have been super supportive and welcoming, so I'm grateful for that.
This team's been on the cusp, obviously a championship, and to help at least provide a little bit to that and potentially get them over the top. I mean, what would that mean to you to be a part of that?
That would mean everything. I think I said it before, but at my years at U of L, my goal was to always win a national championship, and came up a little short. So, I've always wanted to bring a championship, a star to this city. And to bring the third one to Louisville City would be incredible, and it would be a moment that I remember forever. So, I'm really looking forward to having a chance to do that this year.
Obviously, the adjustment is being coached by Danny, getting used to new teammates, all of this, but not having to adjust to a new environment in a new city. How comforting is that for you?
It's so comforting. I think that's one of the best things about Louisville is just the people, the community. Everyone is so welcoming, so nice, so kind. So I think that's been, probably the easiest adjustment I've had to make is, I still get to see, a good amount of my friends from U of L and, a lot of the people around the community. So, there's been a big support system that has been put in place since my time in college. So it's been a relatively easy adjustment on that end.
What are those first conversations with Danny been like when he looks at what role you'll play this season and what you want to get out of this year?
Yeah, I mean, in the conversations me and Danny have had, he wants me to, reach my full potential. So, he's going to push me in training. That's what I want him to do. Ultimately, I think the sky's the limit, not only for this team, but myself as well. I have bigger aspirations as well. So I feel like I'm still young enough. I'm only 22 years old, but, I'm ready to get started with my professional career and hopefully continue to get better each day.
The Ryan Troutman friendship, you guys seem to get along pretty well. Was he recruiting you here a little bit?
Yeah, you could say that a little bit. He obviously, me and Ryan Troutman, we're best friends. He always wants what's best for me. And, if I ended up going to Real Salt Lake, he would have been just as happy as if, I was here at Louisville City. But, I think he's pretty glad that I made the decision to sign here. So, I mean, just having him around and, having that one guy in the locker room, especially when you're meeting a lot of new people, has been it's been great to have. And, I can't say enough good things about Ryan and, everything he's done for me, and not only my career, but especially off the field as well.
How would you describe yourself as somebody who's never watched? I mean, usually they get a lot of fans coming out. How would you describe your game to somebody who isn't familiar with it or hasn't watched?
I would say, I'm aggressive, I'm passionate. A lot of people see me as a defender, but I like to score goals. I think I scored 11 goals in college, so I feel like I'm a major target and threat on set pieces, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook that in my athletic ability. So, I'm ready to get after it. I'm ready to, defend aggressively and, do that for 90 straight minutes.
As someone who you get drafted to one league, end up playing in another one here, what difference do you see between the style of play in the USL Championship versus the MLS?
I mean, I can't speak too much on that, considering I haven't played in the MLS, but just training with Real Salt Lake, over spring break last year and in In the summer, it's pretty similar. I mean, there's a handful of the guys in the locker room that we have right now who have played in the MLS or have been around, MLS experiencing guys. So, I mean, the level's right there. Like, I think we have such a talented and special group inside there. So I think we can compete with anyone, to be honest.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
When you were describing your game,
And obviously, a long way back, and last year had to be difficult. Can you take us through what it's been like to get to this point and just how nice it is to be back on the field with the guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously last year was difficult, not being able to do the thing I love, which is being out in the field with the guys. I think the hardest part was like the mental side for me because, in these moments, you've been a part of a team your entire life, and then, now they're on the road and you're back home, having to put the work in, trying to get back on your own a lot. So for me, the biggest thing is just grateful, and even though I'm now back on the field training, it doesn't stop there. It's, I would say, you still got to continue to put the work in the gym, off the field, because I want to put myself in the best position to be able to, want to compete on the field and obviously provide for the team. So that's how I'm taking it into this year. Obviously grateful, but, the competitor in me is still there.
how hard was, you had a team last year that was vying for a championship and had an amazing regular season. They come up short. Not to be able to be a part of that, or you probably felt like, man, I could help here, I could help there. How hard was that for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because, obviously I was up top watching all the games. I'd go down and say my pieces during, at halftime, things I would be seeing from up top that the guys might not be feeling in the moment. But the year went so well, the regular season, so I felt like I didn't really need to say much. Sometimes it's best to be quiet and let them, figure it out, and that's what they did all year. Obviously, in the end, I was trying my hardest to get back for playoffs, but in the end it didn't happen. I got to take care of my body, and I wanted to be out there with them, just the way I like to play. Maybe it lives up the crowd a little bit, but in the end, it just wasn't meant to be for me that year. But I think all of them have that on their shoulder, how it ended. And we're going to see it come back this year, each week, game by game, one at a time. But the goal for us is always silverware at the end.
Can you talk about just the recovery process and kind of the time, the effort, and ultimately where are you at right now, health-wise?
Yeah, so long one. Obviously, the injury happened last preseason game. I guess in grand scheme of things, I'd probably rather have it earlier than later in the season because then I'd be out for this year. But, I really worked well with Stu, our sports performance, and we kind of delayed the surgery a couple weeks so I could really focus on the gym, getting everything strong beforehand because what we read was you can come back a little bit quicker. But it was a lot. The first 3-4 months, it felt like double days every day. And they had to reel me back at times because I was shooting for 7 months. And I realized during that process the recovery is just as important, just because you're busting your butt out there, lifting, doing all the plyos, trying to get that strength back in the leg. At the same time, recovery is key to let the body heal. And so that was the hardest part for me, trying to put that in my mind. As a player, I just wanted to go out there and get myself back as quickly as possible. So once we got onto that route, I think, we're in a good step. And now, obviously, I've been returned to play, still managing it, working my way up in preseason. But it's just nice to be out there with the guys again. So
We just had Josh in here. What do you tell some of the newer guys or some of the younger guys of the expectations of this club, and really what would you tell them about playing professionally and things like that?
Yeah, it's something I learned my first year, which I think it's already kind of been instilled here at the club, and most of the new guys, especially last year, we had such a new crew come in. We really defined those expectations right off the bat. Obviously, we have an existing group coming in now. The expectation is, what we did last year, we carry that. You don't take a step back now. So with the new guys, I think they'll fit in right away because we're the type, whereas if you step foot the other way, you're going to get called out. But I remember as a rookie, being told like now that you've made it, that's not it. You have to continue. I think the average career is like 3 years as a professional. So once you make it, now you have to continue to put the work in. So.
Brian, you've obviously been a part of the successes here and seen a lot of great seasons. Coming back here, can you recall as much fuel for motivation as what happened last year for this club going into a campaign and chasing a title?
Yeah, I mean, I know they feel it. I know Danny feels it. You know, the way we had our regular season, you know, you don't want to say the expectation is to get to the final because everyone, once you're in playoffs, it's a whole new ball game. So for us, you know, always having that memory of the feelings of walking off that field after that game, anything to motivate us anymore. But with this group, you know, I've seen it just from one day. You know, one, the excitement, and two, how together everybody is, especially in those tough moments during the season. That's when you need an actual team and not clicks here and there. And we have that here. So, I mean, the goal is, you know, it's a journey. There's going to be ups and downs, but everyone wants the same goal at the end, is to live the big one.
You kind of touched on the standard around here, and he asked you about the young guys. Do you even have to say anything, or like when you guys go out to train, they'll get it quick? That it's different. You gotta catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just see how the club has evolved over the years. You know, you had a core group back from 15 to 17, 18, 19, and now you're seeing, you know, shoot, I'm the oldest guy on the team. I'm about to be 35, so can't go on forever. But you've seen the new ones come in and really take it on board. And I think a lot of it is not even, like you say, you don't have to say it. It's the action and the work you put out in the field. And if you're not matching that intensity, you're going to get seen right away. So I think that's the easiest way for them to do it. You know, I think everyone carries themselves as a professional. You know, you have this environment here at Louisville. You don't have that much everywhere else. So don't take it for granted. The expectation here is to win. Yep. Perfect. Yeah, thank y'all.
When you started here, you didn't have
I
a
was
beer.
close to that. Danny, first week back, a few new pieces, but a lot of guys returning from last year, and I know expectations are always high. Can you kind of reset where the group is? How do you feel like you've gotten off to a start?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's exciting to finally be back. You know, it feels like, especially when the season ended the way that it did, that it was a long off season. But the players came in yesterday in excellent shape. And I'm excited, obviously, to integrate some of the new players and looking forward to hopefully putting ourselves in a position to be lifting a trophy. So all in all, good start, and happy to be back.
Danny, when you look at the way, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, the way the season ended, I mean, you go through the course of that year and in dominating fashion in the regular season. What's the message to your team this time around, knowing that you guys can go out there and dominate, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to be throughout the entire course of the year?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, ultimately my job is to obviously reflect on the season in its entirety, and we have to look at the last game and how it ended. At the same time, you know, my belief is we had a group that was good enough to accomplish something special last year. In some ways we did, but obviously the way that it ended, that's going to leave a difficult taste in everybody's mouth, as it should. My messaging to the players when they left was we need to make sure that it fuels us. We need to make sure that we remember the feeling, but that we understand that we have a group that has a lot of quality and capable, as I said, of doing something special. So the messaging on day one was understanding our values, understanding our culture, and making sure that, as I said, that the offseason did fuel them. And what I wanted to see in our preseason testing and in training yesterday was it's pretty easy to be able to tell how guys took the offseason. And this group came in, passed every test we gave them, and are hungry. You know, I think there was a lot of things that we need to be proud of, objectively, but at the same time understand that we fell short. And you know, that obviously starts and it ends with me, and making sure that we as a group, we learn from it and look to push forward.
Coach, Josh came in here earlier. What does somebody, you played at U of L, what does somebody like that bring to this club?
Yeah, you know, we've followed him for quite a few years now. You obviously saw, if you met him for the first time, his size and his strength are obviously at a high level. Even yesterday, I was really impressed with his first day. At the same time, he's got to make sure that he's taking in the information and learning what it means to play for this club. However, him being obviously having been in Louisville, he understands the expectations, I think, here, and I'm excited to see him continue to progress.
What do you?
Go ahead.
No, just to go,
Yeah.
just to go, just to go on top of that. What do you see are some of the biggest like transitions from a rookie, somebody coming from college to a professional level like that?
Yeah, I think it's the amount of time that the season is and the consistency that needs to come with that, you know. So this is a kid that's very professional, though. I could tell just by, again, how he came in. But I think that's something that you have to learn, and it takes a little bit of time. Now, again, you also have players that like Jansen Wilson that come in and they understand expectation, their bodies hold up, and they're mentally in a good spot to be able to deal with how long a season is. And through our meetings with Josh, I would expect very similar from a mentality standpoint, which is a good thing. At the same time, he's going to have a great group around him that he can learn from, that's going to push him to be better. And I can already tell from a cultural standpoint he's going to be a great fit.
When it comes to just kind of how you approach things, do you feel like you had to make anything different? I mean, I know like that, or was that final game last year, was that just one bad day? Because you guys had such a great regular season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do you try to force a different outcome?
No, it's certainly a fair question, and it's one that obviously in the off season we have to reflect on. At the end of the day, I don't think you can win the amount of games that we did last year in a regular season and lose as little amount of games as we did if you don't have that obviously consistency. It was a bad night. There's no question about it. We didn't start well. I mean, I could go through the entire game again. We didn't start well. We made poor decisions on the ball that cost us goals. We got the momentum back after halftime, and then we conceded another one, and I think the players felt it in that moment. And you can go back and forth every single day about what was the reason for that game, but it was a bad night. We didn't have many bad nights last year. In fact, we had some incredible ones. But it doesn't take away the feeling that ourselves, that the club, that our fans feel. And I think the importance in understanding what got us such a strong regular season, what got us home field advantage was the understanding of what it takes every single day to win. And that result is going to continue to weigh on me, but my job is to push forward and make sure that I'm putting the group in the best position possible to be even better this year. And that's going to be the expectation.
You've had a couple guys from that core group of guys. Wilson has moved on. I don't know if it's official yet. Elijah's moving on. But how do you replace that, and do you feel good about the pieces that you have in place?
Yeah, I think one thing that this club that we don't get enough credit for is making sure that we're proactive in that approach. So when you look at the season that we were having last year, it was no secret that come the end of the season there were going to be suitors for some of our players. The reality is those deals have to make sense for us as a club. It is a business, but at the same time we're here to win games. With Wilson, it was a business decision that made sense for us as a club. At the same time, he did a lot for us. I think everybody that's been here knows Louisville City, knows what Wilson gave us. We ultimately want to continue to push players to be the best that they can be, leave here a better player, better person, if it makes sense for us as a club. And in his case in particular, it's why we brought in Phil when we brought him in. Phil is an incredible goal scorer. He's someone that I believe in. His history shows that. And again, in such a short amount of time for us last year, he scored a lot of goals. And so we believe in him, and obviously want Wilson to do well. Over the course of the last 5 years, I think we've sold quite a bit of players. But I think that shows the quality that this club has, and also how this is an environment where you can come compete for championships. And if it makes sense for all parties, we can put you in the best position possible to further your career.
Brian being back, his production has spoken for itself over the years. But what kind of boost does he give you if he's back at full strength? Even 35, it's tough to maintain for a whole year.
Yeah, I think, look, we scored a lot of goals last year. and we didn't have, probably most of our players and staff would tell you Brian was having the best preseason out of anybody in 2024 before what happened to him. And so when we look at the work that he put in all season to make sure that he gets healthy, as well as the off season, when I look at the leadership that he continued to bring, even though he couldn't be on the field last year, it almost feels like, again, we have a new attacker, right? Again, so you talk about Wilson leaving, but we have a player that's shown year after year that he can score goals and he can provide assists, and he's lethal in transition with his pace as well. So we're taking it one day at a time with him, making sure that I'm not overloading him to the point where his body breaks down. But I know that his body's in a great spot at the moment physically. And we're excited to have him back. And it was really good to see him out on the field yesterday with the group, running the fitness test, getting his touches in, because when you really think about it, it was, 10 months ago that we were able to see that, just about 10 months.
His leadership as a whole, is it that much more important in a year where, you're coming in every year with a championship expectation,
Yeah.
but that fuel to be able to maintain the balance of one game at a time with the main picture in mind? How much does he help?
Yeah, it's huge. I think he last year, as I said, I want to be fair to him. He did a lot from a leadership perspective for somebody that couldn't be on the field at all. And this year, the expectation is we continue to see that leadership in that fashion, but at the same time, we're going to have a guy that's going to be able to do it on the field as well. And I think he's worked really, really hard to put himself in a position to make sure that he can provide that. And most importantly, I'm happy for him because as a man, I know he went through a lot last year, but he put himself in a position to earn another contract. And I'm certainly excited to have him back.
Thank you.
Good.